Hey guys, Timcast music producer Carter Banks here, wanting to wish you a Merry Christmas. We just signed our first artist to Trash House Records, and we have our first debut single coming out December 12th. Pre-save it on your favorite stream platform at trashhousechristmas.com. Support our work.
More photos from Epstein estate has been released. And as usual, they're trying to smear Donald Trump. The BBC is reporting, BBC Verify has been analyzing the 19 photos from the estate of convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, published today by the Democrats on the House Oversight Committee. Using reverse image search, an online tool which matches an image to any previous versions on the internet, we've been able to confirm that at least 3 of the photos have been seen before. One photo shows President Donald Trump alongside Epstein and a woman at an event. This was taken at a Victoria's Secret party in New York in 1997 and has been published by U.S. media. Getty Images has different photos of Trump and the woman at the event, and it identified her as model Ingrid Sainoven? Can't pronounce that. Anyways, another photo shows Andrew Mountbatten, Windsor, and Bill Gates. We found the same photo on Getty Images, and it was taken in 2018 at a summit in London. King Charles can also be seen in the original image, but it was cropped out of the version published by Democrats.
Oh,
it seems
crop the king.
Wow.
Right? Crop the king.
It seems to me that this is just more effort to smear Donald Trump.
Well, I mean, the fact that they crop, so it's funny how BBC, right? They're under like official naming conventions here, so you can't say Prince Andrew anymore because he's no longer Prince Andrew. So you get Prince Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, but then King Charles is still King Charles. But the Democrats actually cropped the photo of King Charles, and this just reminds me, if you go back, that when James O'Keefe, and I always say this was the best scoop that James O'Keefe ever got, was that ABC. Remember this ABC anchor when she was off air, but they had the footage of it because somebody leaked it to him, where she was just saying, oh yeah, you know, we've got this whole story on Epstein. We've got everything. We got the files. We got the Clintons. We've got it all. But then the royal family called and shut it down. What do you mean the royal family called and shut down your story on Epstein? And yet, once again, we get this protection of the royal family. And yeah, you look at we got a picture of Donald Trump from 2 decades ago. Yes. Like literally before any of this came out, before the same story we've heard over and over and over, but suddenly they sit and play that, oh, it's a new picture. It's like, okay, well, we knew that Trump was at the party that's already out there. And okay, we found a picture of him and another guy at the party. And what does that actually mean? But they play this very low IQ game where, oh, this guy, and they act like it's all part of the same circle when it's 2 decades prior.
So I got a nephew that's 20, I think he's 21 now. And he actually just texted me a few minutes ago saying that they put on NBC and they were watching the news during lunch, and that this release was talked about, and they were talking about Donald Trump the entire time.
Yep.
The whole point of this
psychological operation.
Exactly. It's just to link Donald Trump to Jeffrey Epstein in an effort by Democrats, clearly, to slime the president. And what do you think, John?
I think that's absolutely correct. You know, he became a household name in 2019 because that was, of course, during the first Trump administration, and Democrats suspected that they'd be able to, as they're trying to now, tie it to Donald Trump, his friends, his administration. And I think that we just need to give ourselves permission to understand that these people are not like accidentally moral. They're not like accidentally like doing the right thing one time. Like the same party infrastructure that wants to groom your children, that wants them to be, undergoing these surgeries, totally fine with like everything evil, like the most evil things that we've ever seen manifest politically in this country. But this one time we're supposed to believe they're like actually getting it right, and they really have their heart in the right place as they're going to, release the freaking Epstein files or whatever, specifically because they view it to be correctly a vector of attacking Trump in language that his base is sympathetic to. You can call Trump a racist every day. It's not going to work. But all of a sudden you start talking about pedophilia. That's something that we are obviously very concerned about because we see what happens in this country with child abuse. Much of that, by the way, occurring because of who floods into the country through the southern border, which they couldn't, care less about. And so, yeah, it's completely disingenuous. I don't buy any of it. And I don't think that anything that these people are saying is true.
Well, yeah, the Democrat constituent, the base, they tune into Stranger Things. The first episode, watch like a child rape scene, and then they're like, by the way, yeah, Trump's a pedophile.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they'll sit there and defend when I went on like a jihad against Netflix and Stranger Things when this all dropped. And I'm like, it's very obvious this is hentai tentacle porn that has been put into Stranger Things. And remember, that's a retcon So they're going back to season 1, which means the age of the child is like, I think he's like 10, 11 when that season is supposed to take place. And, they used, CGI to make him, to de-age him. And so you just see it going into his mouth, and he's like sucking down the dark juices of gay Darth Vader, who's the new bad guy in Stranger Things. But apparently it turns him into gay Luke Skywalker later on in season 5, because he gets powers because of, again, he drank the juices. But it's so disgusting, and it's just an obvious sense of, do you have that high disgust factor or not? Like, are you actually clued into what you're watching? And so I wanted to just respond to what John said, because it was genius, that what the Democrats are doing here doesn't actually mean that they are better. It actually means that they are cynical, because they're so cynical that they'll use this, and they'll always skip over the fact, and everybody skips over this fact, that it was Donald Trump who arrested Jeffrey Epstein. It was Donald Trump's administration that put him in jail. And if you believe certain theories, you might even think that Donald Trump had him killed in prison because, again, he was the one who did it. He was the president when all of this happened. I'm not saying he did. I'm just like if you are on that side, wouldn't it then follow by your own internal logic? But there's also something really interesting that John said that I wanted to get to, because this came up recently with Elon when he was tweeting about this, that in the sense of that Cinnabon worker who got fired and like, oh, she said the N-word, she did this. But then Elon was pointing out, well, it's just a word. And so one of the Democrats, one of these lib accounts, was coming at me talking about this, saying, "Oh, well, it's not acceptable under any context." But the discourse on top of that was, well, wait a minute, is a thought crime actually higher than an actual real physical crime like pedophilia? To the Democrats, it is. To the liberals, it is. In their moral infrastructure, their moral superstructure, they believe that saying a word that they don't like, a no-no word, which we're going to talk about in a minute, is actually worse than rape, murder, or pedophilia. And this kind of gets into like the heat map meme, where they constantly try to this study where they try to debunk it, and they try to claim that it's not true, but it actually is true, that they don't care about things that actually happen to people. They care about thoughts, and they care about feelings.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the crazy thing about this is, if there was a smoking gun, they would have dropped that years ago. The Biden administration would have never let that go. If they had anything on Trump about this, it would have been front and center. It would have been an extra charge to the rest of his charges that they hit him with when he was running for president back in the day. And even now, they keep dropping photos from days past. If there was any legitimacy to these allegations about Trump, we would have seen it by now. No Democrat would have ever dropped this and let that down. So, I don't know what's going on with this, but it's just like, you have nothing. And even Trump says that you have nothing because you would have used it against me.
Yeah, Serge, if you could bring up the picture again, the headline. The only point I want to make is, the BBC has blocked out, 6 women in this, and the whole point of doing that is to imply that they're underage.
Yep.
Right. If it wasn't for the fact that they're trying to make the viewer feel a certain thing, they would just put these people put their faces on there without a problem.
Right. Yeah. What is actually happening here, like the op that we are all witnessing, is you've got a very big problem if you're a Democrat. If you're Tim Walz right now, like, you're shaking in your boots, right? Because you're seeing polling where young men have shifted something like 40 points to the right in just the last few years. If you're a Democrat, you're not putting that toothpaste back in the tube. You're not going to convince these young guys that they actually should go back to being like peak woke 2020, posting black squares. It's never going to happen.
All the bad stuff happened in their formative years. Go ahead.
Sorry. So how do you solve that problem? Well, perhaps you should consider, because you're still the Leviathan, right? You still have all this money, all this institutional power. You just can't keep running the same play. It's clearly not working. Okay, so now what do? You use their momentum against them. You push them over their own skis, which is to say, I'm not going to censor you anymore because that clearly didn't work. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say, you're so right about all these crazy things. Actually, you're more right than you even think. You are so correct that Donald Trump is actually one of these Epstein guys. Donald Trump is actually a slave to that Israel thing you just found out about 5 minutes ago. And so now you are actually so based and red-pilled that you shouldn't support Donald Trump and you shouldn't support JD Vance. You should keep talking shit on Instagram, and then I'm going to be so mad at you and defeated, and I'm going to melt down about it on CNN. Oh no, I'm so scared of young men. And then you're there like, yeah, I'm really owning these people. Meanwhile, the actual political project, which has achieved for us every success we've had in the last 10 years, every deceleration of bad things in the last 10 years, they have convinced you to not support that because you're so freaking based and you know how the world works so well right now. And then what is the manifestation of that? You are opting out of the only political process that in your lifetime has ever actually worked for you. That is the op right now that is afoot. They're not worried about ideas. They're worried about those ideas having consequences. We've all gone through the YAF reading list. Ideas have consequences, right? If your ideas are not making it so that you cannot have consequences because you think the whole thing is corrupt, we just have to wait until the people wake up, man. How's that working in South Africa? How is that working in Brazil? The people are not going to wake up. We need to actually be the ones to enact political change. And so insofar as like social media trends, censorship, all that stuff is going on, these headlines, again, it is about appealing to Trump's base in language that they understand and saying, well, actually, Trump isn't bad because of these reasons that we made up in our head. He's racist. He's a xenophobe. Now he's bad because of things that you agree with. And people are falling for it, and it is very bad.
Yeah, well, they also have these boomer NGOs that they can use basically as cannon fodder, like the royal family in this instance. The left globally hates like the idea of a royal family fundamentally.
They're against monarchy in its total.
And the royal family has been trying to basically gesture to them like, no, we're innocent. We're boomer NGO. Like, you can pray, you can tear up the Canterbury Cathedral. It's not a big deal. Like, don't worry about it. We're good. And it's like, as soon as it means they can get at Trump, they'll like chuck the entire royal family under the bus because it's like convenient for them. Meanwhile, BBC's like platforming like Kneecap, who they're like LARPing like they're these like Irish revolutionaries and they're like going to war with the Queen. It's like, hey, the royal family hasn't been relevant in 100 years. It was like, what are we doing here? This is just an example of like where they can just like totally grind these guys under. They're just total cannon fodder.
And the royal family would say that they agree with everything Kneecap says except for the fact that the royal family shouldn't be the royals.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know.
Well, and this goes to show you that no matter how much control the left has over a certain society, like they have over the UK, for example, and this is BBC, and that's, it gives us a window into this, the way that they're very specific about the titles and which words they use, that they will still act as if they are the victims. So they will still act, they could have total control, and you see this in the Soviet Union, right? They had total control of society, they had total control of every single apparatus of society, the secret police, every stratosphere of society. They used terrorism as a tactic against their own people to control their people, and yet they would still say, oh, we're fighting the oppressive forces of tyranny, we're fighting the oppressive forces of communism or capitalism, we're fighting these oppressive forces from overseas, when ultimately they aren't actually fighting anything. You're the ones in control. This is kind of like I think, John, you and Aaron were talking about it on the Thanksgiving episode. And this line on that you guys did, and John has a great new podcast, which he has not promoted yet. But
I will.
But no, it's so good because it was that line about Christopher Columbus, and they were like, I forget exactly, but they were like, every time a teacher brings up Christopher Columbus, they say, I'm not supposed to say this, and it's like, but he was actually a bad guy. It's like, no, literally every teacher says that, and like every show about him says that. What like, remind me exactly what he said.
Yeah, I remember this very well because I just got out of the public school system 8 years ago or something. But every iteration of American history, whether you're learning about it in 3rd grade, 8th grade, or in high school, they always begin it by saying, now in America, we typically don't teach this, and then they teach it. And so it's like, because if you're a liberal, you have to ignore the fact that all the most powerful people in the world pretty much agree with you and what you would like the world to look like, or what they've convinced you that the world should look like. You have to rationalize how you want to be the revolutionary fighting the man while also controlling every major institution, the United States government, et cetera. So the way they do that is just by telling themselves that actually, we aren't allowed to teach this. We have banned books. You can get them at Barnes & Noble. There's a big sign that says banned books. You want to know how banned books go on the right? They cost $1,000. You don't even know if you're going to get them in the mail.
If you
just
get
buy
a
them.
Banned book
you're
is
in trouble.
will I catch charges for having this?
Can I enter the EU with this book?
That's a banned book. My Unhumans, parts of my Unhumans book got banned in Spain.
Yeah,
Really?
so
No way.
Based. He's doing something right.
it's all a lie, and they have to frame it that
Happy
way.
Franco Friday, by the way.
Oh, there we go.
We need a Protestant Franco, but I think it's Trump, actually. I digress.
Perhaps.
Easy.
Yeah, my bad. Get a little fired up.
Some say Cromwell, but as a Catholic, I can't co-sign
I'm
that.
a Cromwell guy.
As a Catholic,
I am
can't
too.
co-sign that.
Protestants.
The hats were
co-sign
cool.
that.
That buckle, everything was great.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.